There is a click in the darkness, a tiny flame. Then the air is heavy with psychedelic poison. Her spine shivers. He is here again, with his deadly smile and his soft drawl. It all started with him. Subtle rebellions, the first shiver of sex swirling around his hips, a fascination for danger without the consequences. She always marvels at how his beauty hangs effortlessly from his cheekbones. He tells her tall tales of all things forbidden in smooth whispers. She feigns shock, which makes him laugh. Never for a moment does she forget that this is a seduction. One night, she'll let his charm win over her cowardice. She always assumed she'd never be his type, then realised there's no point in second-guessing someone so impulsive. Sometimes he sings, honey dripping down sandpaper, and she is helpless. He smells like the heady decadence of graveyard flowers. He always asks for whiskey. She can hear it filling his veins, sucking the life out of him, but there's no chance in hell she can refuse those wild eyes. Every time he strolls back into the ether, keeping his secrets behind his knowing grin, she feels like she is wiser. Then his songs come over the white noise radio crackles and she forgets he is a ghost. She lives vibrant for the length of those songs and dances with abandon. As if his lingering words have cast a spell she cannot shake off until time is done with itself. It was always this way with him. Thank you. Yes, that was the opening poem to the collection, and it's about Jim Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors. Come on, baby, light my fire. You know it. And yeah, that discovering that band and their lead singer was what prompted really, I guess, my first sort of big transformation, my coming of age. And the person who played me my first Doors album was my sister. And just going to give her like a blanket content warning from now on for grief, mental health issues, trauma, and probably some strong language. Yeah, so just so you know. And yeah, so this one's called When the Music's Over. She played me my first Doors album. I was ready, but too young in my awkward bones for that raw beast of music, those sensual whispering howls calling for true oneness. Light My Fire changed my life. In her flat, with the bedroom wall she'd painted scarlet red to cover her cryptic premonition of her own death, an assault on her heart. That's the gift of a band like that. They make you a little less afraid of your own darkness as you stare it in the face and dance with it. You got me into all my best music, I told her across the gulf between the chair and the hospital bed, wanting to hide any finality but still tell her the truth. You gave me so much, and I'd give it all back if you could stay. She smiled through her morphine haze, her arguments with angels, and I knew we both felt it. Our hearts opening with a torrent of pure love, at the same time subtle like a feather gliding down a river. The wordless moment where our spirits met, touched the endless rhythm of the cosmos. Our last gig was the tribute band. It was packed, but still felt like our secret. We agreed you could tell he loved the man he was imitating. You can't fake it with energy that potent. Every time I dance to them now, I feel her there. The protest against living quietly, thrumming behind every heartbeat. So, after I lost my sister, it sort of threw me into a emotional breakdown, for want of a better way of describing it, a sort of dark night of the soul. And there was moments when I was very scared about what was happening to me, and I really didn't understand it. But then afterwards, I slowly started to see ways that it had opened me up, and it sounds a bit counterintuitive to say, but the gift of grief, like the gifts that it can give you to face up to things and change and really focus in on what is important. And this really is just, I guess, a snapshot of a moment where I was still very much in the deep throes of grief, not really understanding how it works. It's called Dandelion. The corridor seems to get longer with each trip. It seems cruel when there is suddenly no time. Yet my steps still slow, less desperate to reach the end, because we have been told by 3 doctors now that despite all our disbelief and clinging hope, she is not coming home from this windowless ward. I don't make it in time for her last breath. Somewhere under the shock is relief. She looks peaceful now the machines have stopped blaring. Now nurses have stopped darting in during precious moments. I kiss her cheek and wish her luck. I am there in the room, split open from a clean axe swing, while my numb heart bursts in a wasteland with no weather. Staggering outside, I feel unnerved that the sun is blazing, gasping out alien sounds as birds sing, oblivious. I pluck a dandelion, blasting its soft seeds onto an uncertain breeze, and it's all so fragile, I can't stand it. The crack in the ceiling of her flat is more prominent now the room is empty. We put her life in boxes, take objects that hold no meaning for us to charity shops in a shopping trolley. We sweep bare floorboards and close the window. We leave for the last time. No more Sunday roasts she has yet to cook when we arrive with growling stomachs. Nothing could be done, I say to friends who haven't seen her for years. I believe it when I tell them I'm fine, a primitive part of my brain accepting the natural order. It's later the wrecking ball finds me. When my feet finally landed and kept sinking, I understood why some people just jump. At my worst, I didn't know how to fill the next hour with anything resembling contentment. Now, I can flick through photo albums, tolerate patiently this nameless fear tugging at my nerve endings, walk down a hospital corridor without feeling cheated. Thank you. So, yeah, something that my breakdown kind of made me face up to was the fact that I had a big problem with sexual repression, and that I had a very common yet rarely talked about psychosexual dysfunction called vaginismus. So I had to get very intimate with my vagina, and we're going to get very intimate with my vagina right now. Don't worry, yay. I'm going to hold your hand the whole time, but we are going deep, just so you know. And just so you know,
only in a 30 seconds we have that conversation.
And just so you know, I dropped the C word, and that is kind of the point of the poem. So yeah, just bear with me on that, because I'll let the poem explain. It's called V is for Vagina. Here we go. When I'm feeling fun, need to keep it casual, I call it my fanny. It makes me feel safe and a bit cheeky all at once. In those everyday conversations, to call it something more serious can feel loaded. There's enough pressure on that place already. Yes, another empowered Viva Vagina poem, and there should be more, many more. There's enough silent vaginas, so the ones who can talk should shout loud. I know if I'm being woke and inclusive, I should call it my vulva, but it just doesn't have the same poetic syntax as vagina. This is my choice, and we should all respect that. When I'm horny, it's my pussy. Problematic pornography aside, when that word is whispered in my ear by a lover with the words, I'm going to fuck your beautiful before it, and I believe him, it's the sexiest word I've ever heard. And I'm wet, willing and waiting for the next man who can say pussy and mean it. When I'm feeling rebellious and political, I call it my cunt. It shouldn't be that big a deal this day and age, a generic word for a body part, left elbow, toe, nipple, cunt. Cunt. I like the way it sounds in my mouth. No nonsense. Packs a resonating punch. Nothing shocks me about her anymore. She is a she, this part of me. For all that life has tried to steal her from me, she's mine. She was tangled up tight for a long time. Her first visitor was indifferent to her heart and mind, and she cried and battened down the hatches so I could just move on, blot out the psychological bleeding for years and years until she started screaming. So now I let her speak, because I like being alive. My favourite word for her is yoni, Sanskrit for sacred cave, earliest abode, dwelling place, and other gorgeous primordial words of the earth to be passed on to soul sisters as we dance naked under moonlight. All she's ever wanted is for her power to be acknowledged, but I had to teach her this power in secret as we fell down internet rabbit holes and tried to deconstruct shame. Together, we made our own language. Because if there's one thing the world doesn't want to talk about, it's vaginas, especially when they don't do what they were paid to do. She has passed her initiation finally and wants to celebrate. She fucking deserves it, along with a yacht and a castle and all the ice cream she can eat because she's a queen. If you want her to bestow her generous bounty, you bow and play nice. Woe betide those who don't respect all she can do, wage war, diffuse bombs, dance the tango, survive on barely nothing, take you to heaven and back, save the planet. Because when you heal the womb, you heal the world. Fact. She is magic and wondrous, and yours is too. So next time she calls you, pick up the phone and tell her you love her too. No one else can do this for you. And if you don't, she will die, or she will kill you, or the world will take her from you and turn her against you. Trust me. Take back her power so she's not erased from the alphabet. Spread your two fingers and raise them proudly. V is for vagina, and she will be heard. Thank you. Thank you very much for going deep with me. Yes. So, yeah, getting out the other side of that, that big problem that I was having for a long time that I was in denial about, led to a sexual awakening. And I was going to do a different poem about this section, but then I decided today, after seeing the swans, so earlier me and Claire saw the swans by the river, and the volunteer guy was there with the seed, and he let me feed them, so I was queen of the swans. So I was like, I've got to do my swan poem. And this poem was inspired by the swans at, where did we go, where there was the fucking massive swans?
Arrow Valley
Okay.
Park in Redditch.
So this is partly about the swans of Arrow Valley. It's partly about a character from Greek mythology, and I wanted to do this one for another reason because I've just got back from 2 weeks in Greece. So again, it felt timely. So yeah, it's about swans and Greek mythology and sex. and they're all kind of, smushed together in a beautiful way. So this is called Leda. And Leda was the mother of Helen of Troy and was seduced by Zeus in the guise of a swan. For a moment, I am Leda, both afraid and in awe, knowing instinctively this one is not the same as the others, all preening and aloof like a dressing room full of lazy divas. This one is a hunter. I was not prepared as I turned the corner, sun shimmering diamonds on the lake, to see such a legion of brightness, a whiteness of swans. It feels otherworldly, like I have somehow shrunk and I'm speechless, ironically mute. It's pure mythology, and my epic heart is racing into metaphors. This one is not intimidated. Instead of hiss, there is silence, surety as he steps towards me fearlessly. Throwing the food doesn't deter him. He is coming for me, for the whole offering. It's because I am still feathered with the memory of you that I see the potential for sensuality everywhere. Still feel your weight encasing me in pounding, thoughtless joy. It's because of your whispers in my ear, your bite marks still red on my shoulder, that I find this animal's advance intriguing. Before, I would have appeased, given in. Now, I puff my chest out and hold my ground, unwavering will in my bones, feeling taller somehow. I step forward and hold space so he knows I'm not to be taken lightly. This leader is not to be trifled with, seduced by something shiny as if it's harmless. You are no posturing god. Your yielding masculinity is beautiful. The swan is just the swan, yet all three of us radiate power in our own ways. I advance, heart ablaze. He backs off. I stride emboldened. I am coming for the world. So, from swans to horses, and I want to thank Maggie and it's another lovely coincidence that you've come today, because I remember you gave me the idea for the title for this poem many moons ago. So yeah, all those sort of traumatic upheavals that led to, my various transformations, all of them have given me this deeper appreciation of nature and how nature can help you heal. So this one is You Sent Me Horses. It started with 2 Shetlands in a field in Somerset. I realised that to remind me you were still here, all kind and wild and subtle, you had sent me horses. For the heavy void filling my skull, you sent me a boisterous black gelding and 2 patient mares, whose loyalties I charmed with carrots between doctor's appointments. You led me to a sanctuary where, like me, they'd had too much go on in too short a time. They needed some comfort and safety. Now, the time I've wasted, too terrified to leave the house, too terrified to stay, is spent with mud caked around my boots as I shovel muck and distribute hay, and I've never been happier. Sharing silence with the subjects of all those Grecian myths and Celtic legends made flesh, Pegasus, Shadowfax, Bucephalus. Time, which stretched out in endless reminders of loss, can be filled with nothing more than the nuzzling of a soft nose to make life seem worth the danger. The spotting of robins in the corner of a stable, the rare sight for these city eyes of a landscape full of trees and hills, sunsets, I'd miss those. Now, I'm learning to steer my way into chaos. The exhilaration of speed on the back of a gentle beast that gives away their power if you're kind and patient. This is how the mind is sometimes, and how you must teach it. I'm slow and clumsy, but they can tell I mean well as we navigate untrustworthy obstacles together. Puddles, sudden noises, troublesome strangers. I've been scared of these tiny traumas too. A constant thought that sticks like tar, a song on the radio with no warning, trembling bones and squeezed out lungs in an Airbnb bathroom I should not be in, not in a state like this. The persistent prey-like drive for flight saying, run, you're not safe. I tried to be kind to the jolting, jerking animal that replaced me, foaming at the mouth with fear, pulling at reins made of air, but it was too strong for me. Horses have a sturdier kind of fragility. Death is scratching at the heels of everything, but at least if you ride, your feet are off the ground. With them, I see how I'm like them. Half wild, half tame, half in this world, half in yours, half here, beneath my palm, breathing long and deep, half the stuff of legend charging into battle. I was half of myself. Now I am almost a centaur, daring to hold my ground, flare my nostrils with defiance. I'm always putting my forehead against theirs as we stand completely still. I know they know what I'm thinking. This is how it feels to be peaceful. You sent me those horses we always meant to ride together but never did. One day, I'll soar over this pit of regret as I gallop into the unknown, making hoof prints big enough to leave an old life in. Breathless, terrified, smiling, gone. Thank you. So I've just got one more for you, but before I do it, I just want to say thank you so much for having me at Script Haven. I love it here, and I love that just down the road there is a plethora of swans for me to come play with. Thank you.
And trees
Thank
from
you.
which to collect.
Yes, many trees to fill many bags.
Yes, indeed.
And thank you to all the open micers, you're all fabulous. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Claire, for being a soul sister, a fabulous artist, a inspiration, and just, you know, my fellow swan princess. And just so you know, I'm selling the books for a tenner. You can pay me in cash, or I've got a PayPal. I have pre-signed them because I find signing books after a gig a bit stressful, so I thought I'll alleviate the anxiety by pre-signing them, so it's all good. So I'm just going to leave you with this last one, which is about I guess my spiritual transformation, which started when I went on a 10-day silent Vipassana meditation retreat, and it was pretty hardcore, and it nearly broke me, but I stuck with it, and by the end I was like, I'm a Zen master. And the next day I got up at 5 in the morning and mowed the lawn, and that didn't last long, you know. But for that brief moment in time, you know, I was basically Buddha. But yeah, it made me realise just how much noise I had in my head, and just how noisy the world is, and no wonder we can all get in such a mess and feel so vulnerable. And actually, you know, poetry is one of those things that can just fill the silence with something beautiful. So this is called Get Zen. It's not until the volume is turned down you realise the only real peace is between the inhale and the exhale. The rest is just noise. I'm learning something I forgot I always knew, something profoundly simple. It's not just the world that's spinning, it's you. It spins so slow your spine barely feels the shudder. You spin until your agitated cells burst at the core. So much time spent splitting yourself in two, when in the end there is only you, only silence to tell you how to be in a world designed to make a mockery of your subtlety. It's not life that trips up your plans, it's your too eager feet, stumbling at stop signs, tangled in train tracks, rushing to squeeze all your hunger through closing doors that can only crush your bones. No, you are not at the end of the grinding wheel, gripping tighter as it accelerates faster, with your only choice being to let go. You are the still point at the centre, who decides which turns matter, and if the wheel ever spins again, only you know. I'm trying not to pick at the answers, because to even ask the questions take longer. The silence is breaking me, but will put me back together stronger. Fall. That's what the silence says to me. If you shatter, fracture, falter, I will put you back together. Cell by cell, I will carry you to shelter, reconstruct you ISIS-like, made whole again with the patience of love. Fall. I will catch you, don't hold back, soar, fearless. There are oceans to drown mistakes in a heartbeat. Eternity is played out in an eye blink and you're gone. Catastrophes might as well be stars, so far away and smudged out by a finger. All there is endlessness. The ebbs and flows, raindrops to sea, seeds to tree, babes to bones. The fear is from the world, it's not mine. And it's not that nothing ever happens, it's that everything happens all at once, all the time. It's how you feel about the planets that orbit under your skin, the comets that burn up your best laid plans, the chaos you know you chose. The earth shook and its true treasures rose. See, you forget to breathe and you wonder why you can't breathe, and you do things that make no sense and you wonder why you make no sense. Just breathe and learn to love your silence. If you don't learn to love your silence, it will wither under the noise and you will cease to function without noise. You will eat noise, crave noise, mind mangled noise, aching down to your bones for someone else and all their noise. It's just noise. Just turn it down. Breathe. Be. What else has ever given you total clarity? Breathe. Just be. The rest is just noise. Thank you very much.
We've had a fabulous night and everyone who's come up to the stage has been phenomenal. But in a way, as sad as I am for this evening to come to a close, I'm delighted that actually you were the last person on the stage, because how on earth do you follow that? It's delightful to hear you perform your words, but I know there are so many nuances and depths within the poems that you've both performed tonight and in the book, which are well worth taking the time to read. So if you haven't bought a copy, sorry, I'm about to. Please do so. I'm about to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming tonight.
And
for
merch,
Lorna.
there's merch.
And there's merch.